available, and for a grand total of $1,241,000,000 of projects that were done with that $615 million of ARPA funding that was available. Once again, the matches.
Just, if I may, I want to emphasize that, if I might, Mr. LaFleur, with the way your departments handle its monies. We received, what was it, 225 and 395, so that was about
615, yeah.
$615 million. And with that $615 million, when we have these things complete, will wind up being a almost double that in actual work, in-ground systems. Is that correct?
That's correct.
$1.241 billion new money. And that's separate from all the other projects and such that your department oversees and deals with.
That's correct, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, I would mention on the match, where match is available, we did not require any match that would put any of the systems in financial distress. They were, it was determined how much match they could provide and still maintain financial stability. I'll also mention that as a result of these individual grants that were made, we did require sustainability considerations in those documents, the agreements that we
Meaning
have.
that they could maintain them.
Correct. They are contractually obligated to review their rate structures on a regular basis so that they don't get way behind and have to come up with a giant leap at some future date. They're also required to keep reserves for replacement of equipment that will have a normal lifespan, and that they'll have the reserves there when the time comes. They are also required to have financial audits for the next 20 years, which is good business practice, and many of them did not engage in that practice in the past. This ARPA funding provides us the hook, if you will, to make those requirements for good business practices in these systems. Moving on, go ahead.
City of Marion, did y'all ever get that project straight? Because I know they was having some financial difficulties putting together a match.
I think we've structured that one now so that it's viable.
We believe it's viable.
Do you, I hear you believe it's viable. Is it viable?
It is viable.
Oh, Lord.
Mayor Hinton made
Well, there was.
We've been going over this for about a year now with Marion.
Yes, we've been dealing with.
And y'all ain't
longer
got that
than a
right,
year.
but you tell the committee that you sit here and you haven't put a financial strain on people for having a match. And they have a financial strain on getting a match. And now you believe it's viable versus whether it is viable or not. What is the question? Is it viable or not?
Well, the funding makes it viable. Now, future operations will have an impact on viability.
All right.
And we're trying to make them sustainable in their future operations. Other questions? Okay, if we can move on to the next slide.
Before you go, I want to, you've got encumbrances, 615 mil, that's what we got in from ARPA money. And then you have the actual expenditures as of March 31st of this year of 153 million.
Correct.
That means that you have continuing holding in the bank, I guess, what's that, 470 million bucks or so?
Yes, Treasurer Boozer has that money. And makes interest off it.
Of course. But all of that money, that full 470 has got to be out the door and out of his hands by December 31st of 26, correct?
That's correct. We have a slide little.
Okay, we got, all right. I'm getting ahead.
Thanks. All of the money was encumbered, obviously, and March 31 is 153 million had been spent. As of today, I think that number is now up to 159 million, and we have 62 of those 495 projects that have been completed. These are shorter-term projects. We have a number of them that have had a single at least one pay request, and we know they are underway. If you would move, excuse me, did you have questions?
I have a question.
I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we know that this money's got to be spent by December 26th, the end. So do you have, or can you say definitely that there is a plan to ensure that this money is spent so that we don't get dinged?
Absolutely.
Okay.
If,
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Mr. LaFleur, I think you moved past this, but I think it's an instructive bullet point. You said that 315 of these projects have submitted at least one pay request. And so that means that they're moving, if they've already submitted a pay request of the 495. So, Senator, that gives me some level of comfort that, we're off and running, and so that's a good number.
yes, sir.
Yep.
Yes, sir. We're definitely off and running.
Because this administration bad about clawbacks right now.
We believe we are clawback proof, if that's a term. Okay, if you'd move to the next slide, deadlines. You got that one we have? Okay. The first deadline, as was mentioned earlier, was December 31, 24. All of the dollars have been obligated on that. The 2026 year-end deadline, we have a deadline for June 1 of 26 that all projects must meet a demonstration that they will complete their project before year-end 2026.
That's your in-house deadline that you.
That's our in-house deadline. Yes, that's to allow us time if we need to make adjustments, that we can make those adjustments. If a problem does exist, we will move those ARPA funds to a different project and then fund the backfill, if you will, through other sources of funding that we have that have longer deadlines than that. Normally, match money is the first money spent on a project. In our case, because of this deadline, the ARPA funds will be the first money expended. But we have a good control over the match money coming in. But that gives us the ability to have the first dollars be ARPA dollars. Okay? Then there's a second slide that says deadlines. If any project had not completed the bid process by August of 24, they were required to submit a monthly progress report. We track these. We're used to tracking projects because of long history with state revolving fund loans, and we will track all of these based on their construction schedule that they have submitted along with their project documents. If you'd move to the monthly reports, we do monitor them, and if there is any kind of a slowdown or a question about the project, we will have them continue with monthly reports, even if they have their bids have already been submitted. We currently have 81 of the 495 projects that are required to provide monthly reports to us. Our staff oversees the construction project based on a number of things: the pay requests, the on-site inspections, and those monthly reports. And then our final slide is a graph, and we use this graph to see if we have any delays that we need to address. To read this graph, pardon the Auburn colors for those of you who are Alabama fans, but the blue column is what is projected to occur in that quarter. The orange column is the sum of all of the blue columns that precede it. And as you can see, we show the expenditures, this is the actual dollars out the door, to increase over time. Early on you have engineering costs, and later on you have the equipment costs, which are big costs in these kinds of projects. The projected completion date is November the 15th of 2026, but we will know well ahead of time whether that project completion date will be met or not. You can see that we show all of the $615 million projected to be completed prior to the deadline of 12/31/26. The last quarter there has a fairly small number of additional funding that will be spent.
These are showing not fiscal year, but calendar years.
Calendar
The
year.
CY is showing that in the fourth quarter, 26, you'll have a smaller amount going out to complete the full 615.
Yes. The calendar year is used because that's the
That was the time frame.
timeframe that the funds are relegated to.
Thank you. Any questions? Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Director LaFleur, I just want to again compliment you and your staff on a good plan to get this out in time. You will recall I had my doubts about it. I was very concerned, and I think this is very sound. Now, the proof's in the pudding as we get close to the end about making sure that we do claw back some of this that may not get spent. And I know you and your staff, Mr. Kelly in particular, are very aware that I've got some projects waiting in the wings where you can expend that money very quickly and dispose of that and check that box. But I get a reputation for not always being the rosy sunshine guy around here, but I'm telling you, I think this is very impressive. Y'all have done a really good job with a whole bunch of money and a plan to really get it out in time. And so I thank you for that.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you for those kind words.
We
ADM,
appreciate his rosy comments, don't we?
I do.
Well, the day is young, yeah. So,
ADM is known for being able to squeeze a nickel pretty tight.
And I would reiterate what the senator's saying. I think ADM has done a fantastic job and under trying circumstances, because I don't think you increased your staff any with the handling of this
No, we have
additional
not.
monies, did you?
We have not.
And you have done this in a way that has been timely and seems to be making a difference in Alabama. That's huge. I appreciate you very much.
Well, thank you very much. As you know, we are dead last in per capita funding in the entire nation. So not increasing
You
staff.
just had to get that dig in.
I have to get that in.
lean and mean, Mr. Chairman, lean and mean.
But I'll throw one more item in there, is that the funding that was available for administration, for administrative costs, $0 of administrative costs have been taken out of ARPA funding. Like I say, we are very tight with the.
Every dollar that we've gotten in from ARPA, from the reports that we've got, both from you, Finance Director, and many others, is a matter that this money that came from the feds has gone in the ground of Alabama for the benefit of the citizens of Alabama.
Absolutely.
That's extremely commendable and needs to be made note of. Thank you.
Well, thank you all very much.
Thank you, President Biden.
Ma'am, yeah, you're right.
All
Mr. Chairman, may I
involved.
say, I just want to commend you as well, because when we first began this process, I know the first thing that we looked at, it was just overwhelming of how this money is going to be spent, because we're not the only ones that's dealing with this. As far as we looked at the fact that everybody needs engineering and things like that done, construction workers or what have you. And so we were competing, not in state, but with everybody else, because they were grabbing for those same people. And it is just really commendable and outstanding that you have done this without adding to your staff, didn't take any money from this. All of this money went to improve the lives of the citizens in the state of Alabama of needed projects. I don't know how many of you saw the news report. That's why I asked the question about sewer and sanitary sewers, about Alabama in particular, and the fact that how the impact of reneging on commitments that were made in the past by administration relative to funding that we were going to get, it's still going to have an impact long term, because the very same thing that my colleague from Greene County mentioned about, there are still, but we at least have put in the basic foundation so that people can connect, which is very expensive, and over time, hopefully, we can do this. But we know that Alabama is a recipient state. We rely on federal dollars a whole lot, and we are definitely being impacted by what's going on in D.C. But thank you, and your staff are to be commended for the outstanding work.
Thank you very much for those words, and we are committed to improving the lives of people in Alabama. That is our job. Thank you.
Thank you. And now for the big rosy guy who is full of good news, Mr. Adeka himself, Mr. Boswell.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Hope all is well today. Let me begin with some comments, if I may. The Alabama Department of Economic and Community Affairs was tasked with creating the statewide middle mile broadband network grant program, utilizing up to $85 million in American Rescue Plan and state and local physical recovery funds. On April the 28th, 2022, ADECA issued a request for project proposals to develop a statewide middle mile broadband network that would support the future last mile projects. ADECA received 5 applications. On September the 27th, the governor awarded $82,450,000 to Fiber Utility Network, also known as the Alabama Fiber Network Company, a corporation made up of 7 rural electric cooperatives and 1 generation transmission electric cooperative. Fund will create a middle mile network that will connect 3,000 miles of existing and new fiber infrastructure across the state within a 3-year period. And 433 of those miles will be newly constructed fiber. When complete, the network will provide improved access to unserved areas of the last mile projects that provide broadband availability to households, businesses, communities, and community anchors. The grant agreement was signed February of 2023 based on the most recent report of Alabama Fiber Network to ADEA. Approximately 91% of this project has been completed. American Rescue Plan and state local recovery funds tranche 2, which is we refer to as AIM 1, Anchor Institute Middle Mile, and AIM 2. ADECA was tasked with creating statewide Anchor Institute Middle Mile broadband grant programs utilizing $245 million in ARPA dollars. The Alabama Digital Expansion Authority approved the AIM program to utilize the available program. On August of 2023, ADECA issued a request for project proposals and related materials for applications to support the deployment of fiber broadband infrastructure to anchor institutes. An example would be education, health care, public safety, government facilities, while providing middle mile capabilities to improve the last mile broadband services. This program will work in conjunction with the ARPA and the CPF program, which we'll go into detail in the reports here shortly. Through 2 rounds of funding, the governor announced 21 projects and 11 subrecipients. Project completion dates range from February 26 to September 26, determined by the date of their subaward agreement, project complexity. The extenuating circumstances, they may request an extension not to exceed the deadline established by the Department of Finance or by federal deadline of December of 2026. The current grants amounts total $239,431,265.08. These projects will result in an estimated 4,762 route miles, middle mile infrastructure being available for Alabama's middle mile network. An estimate of 907 anchor institutes will have access to a minimum of 1 gigabit per second and 1 upload, and then 1 gigabit per second download. Now, if you'll take your programs right here, we'll go to these and we'll go project by project. Senator, you're well versed in this, so you've seen it all. We'll start with the middle mile Grant amount was $82,450,000. Percentage of completion is 91%. Amount of grant expended, $61,059,980.32. Amount of grants remaining is $21,390,019.68. Go to your next slide. Alabama Anchor Institute Middle Mile AIM Phase 1 and 2 grant program, 21 projects awarded. Grant amounts $239,431,265.08. Amount of grants expended is $7,158,911.45. Amount of grants remaining, $232,272,353.63. Estimated route miles is 4,762, with estimated Anchor Institutes having access of 907. AIM, go to your next slide, please.
If I may,
Yes,
on this one, we have a large amount of funds and a large amount of work to be completed.
Yes, sir.
And you have a system to follow up on these to make sure we get them completed?
We do. The ADIA board meeting is every 3 months, and every ISP is coming in giving up updates on a constant basis. I have Andrew Affler back here. He is in the state with his team this week, and he is actually confirming everything on the ground as they complete it to make sure before we release payment to them.
Do you have any concerns that this $232,272,353 whatever, is going to be expended and in the ground before our deadline?
Senator, there's always a concern, but at the same time, we're going to do everything that's humanly possible. Senator Singleton actually sits on the ADIA board, and we are holding their feet to the fire. Am I correct, Senator?
You're absolutely correct. And I'm beginning to see more orange pipe fiber going into the ground all across the state now. The little white pole with the orange top on it, that's your fiber.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yes,
Sir.
that's your fiber.
Okay.
And if it cones up on both sides, they've got it dug, they're about to push the fiber through.
That's your fiber.
Okay?
Okay. Thank you. Well, and then we'll continue
Go through
on.
the rest of it?
Yes, sir. Keep
All right,
going.
Page 4. You're looking at Point Broadband Fiber Holdings. Grant amount was $411,341, or $341.62. Percentage of design is completed at 100%. Project has not been completed. The grant amounts expended is 0, with the total amount to be spent of the $411,341.62. Page 5. Telecommunications Corporation, grant $21,584,360.72. Project design completed at 74.59%. Percent of the project construction completed 33.27. Amount of the grant funds expended $1.2 million.
Mr. Boswell?
Yes, sir.
I appreciate your diligence in going through this, but I think unless the body, would y'all take a minute and flip through this, see if you have any questions about any one of these? I think he's got the information there. My main concern was that fourth one, I think, that had that huge amount that was there.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
All right. I think I know the answer to this, but back on slide 2, just to make sure if others on the outside have questions. The green line of completed routes, it extends beyond Alabama's borders to Atlanta on one, Nashville on another one. Walk us through that. Did any of these funds go to complete those routes to those cities and other states?
I'm going to let him walk you through it. He's the engineer,
Okay.
but it is to create a redundant system, but he'll get in the weeds with you. Andrew?
We're connecting to their system.
Good morning. So in response to that question, what the Middle Mile Network is doing is it's bringing to every county in Alabama basically an extreme shortcut to the internet backbone. And to do that properly, it needs to connect to the locations that are essentially the core of the internet, the places where the major crossroads happen. So just like Atlanta Airport is the major crossroads of the aviation system, it's also in this region the main crossroads of the internet. Connecting there to, for example, the exchange in Montgomery is essentially making it so that if you're connected to Montgomery, you're just as connected as if you are in Atlanta.
I appreciate it. I just know sometimes we have to deal with assumptions, so I just want to make sure we were clarifying that. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
I have a question on that. Is there a cost sharing, or is it because it's something that we need to connect to Alabama that we pay, it comes out of our funding and not from adjacent states?
So it comes out of your funding. It's really basically something that, from the point of view of Georgia or Tennessee, you're just crossing through to connect there. Actually, those routes are not physically being constructed. Those are basically fiber that belongs to Southern companies that's being.
So we're just tapping into.
Yes, that's right.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Just one quick question. 4,762 miles is I'm looking at the estimated route miles total.
Yes, sir.
On
What
41
slide you
projects.
on
This
there?
is
3? Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And we have a large amount obviously left over that we're going to work hard to get there. If my math is correct, that's about $50,000 a mile. Is that accurate?
That sounds about correct, yes.
That's how.
What, so tell me what it was prior to ARPA. I mean, you know?
I'm sorry, the cost per mile to
Yeah.
construct?
I mean,
It really would depend. 50,000, if you're working with an area where you have to put a brand new fiber on the poles or you have to build underground, it would be between 50,000 and 100,000 roughly.
okay. Thank you.
Sir.
Any other questions by that?
I just want to thank you all for the maps.
ma'am.
The attachments, because now no matter where we go, when people ask us questions about what are we doing, this is the kind of infrastructure and improvements throughout the state that everybody needs. We all rely on these things right here. And at one time, we were having a problem, even in the city of Birmingham, where parents were having to drive their kids to the local McDonald's or close to a library, somewhere where they could connect to do their homework. So internet and being able to have that connection is very important. So your maps are very helpful. I want to thank you for that. So if we travel the state and let people know what are you doing, you don't see this, it's kind of like sewers. We all rely on it, we need it, but that's infrastructure that you don't see. People like to see things on top of the ground.
Yes, ma'am.
But if your toilet doesn't flush,
Yeah,
you
I
get all
agree.
upset. Same way if your phone doesn't work, you go through these dead miles areas. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am, and would add, this is the proposed route. When we meet back with you, as we said, we're meeting quarterly with these ISPs. We will literally trace out what has been completed and what's left when we meet at the next committee meeting.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Director Boswell, I know you and I have discussed changing of BEAD requirements in particular, and that this administration is revamping those requirements to kind of take a tech-neutral approach to expenditure of those funds. I would assume ADIA is paying attention to what they're doing as far as options go.
Yes, Senator, right now, we're waiting. We're in a hold pattern. We discussed this the other day. Would like to really know where we are going. I mean, I don't know if we're going to have to start over again.
Yeah.
I don't have the answers right now.
Well, I think there were some constraints, probably artificial constraints in the initial BEAD requirements that could be opened up and that we could look at again, that would, again, probably provide a little bit more bang for the buck, if you will, that are some commercially available products that are out there right now. And Senator Coleman Madison brings up a good point. When we first started this COVID odyssey, if you will, we had all these conversations about having to sit in a McDonald's parking lot or the school bus, providing access. But a lot of those commercial models have come down to cost-wise significantly, and even so in the last couple of months, that really allow that not to be the case anymore anywhere. Now, obviously, this fiber is the preferred method, but I don't know of a situation where we've got anybody in Alabama that shouldn't have broadband coverage at this point while they're waiting on I think it's been called the holy grail of fiber. And so I think that our days of sitting in the McDonald's parking lot are probably behind us.
I hope so. I tell you, we're working hard to get there, and would tell you that we do hope with the BEAD process that some of those constraints are lifted. It has been a task. I'll just leave it at that.
Well, it'll do better at getting more. It'll get the cost per rooftop down, especially in those harder to serve areas. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
But one of the other things, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, if you mind. One of the other things that we have to be conscious of is that in some of these areas, there are several different pots of federal dollars that are going into these areas. There are some of these that companies, ISPs, that apply straight to the FCC for money. And therefore, if you got those dollars going into an area, you can't use some of these other federal dollars into those same areas, as they talked about double dipping. So it has been kind of confusing across the state as to where you can go and lay the fiber, where dollars are already being spent. So they're having to map out all of that to make sure that all of our areas are being covered across the state.
And Senator makes a good point in that we have, and the governor has consistently asked in her budgets. I know over the last 3 years, the Alabama Broadband Accessibility Fund, what I'm concerned with is that some of these companies that have applied directly to these federal entities and programs, will they really get it finished? And then it's going to leave voids, and whereas anyway, I won't go on from there.
So you're talking about counties and municipal governments?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, what has transpired is, and I'll try to put it as simple as I can, some of your companies have tied up areas of the state with, i.e. USDA money, different funds, and they have up to so many years to complete the project. My concern personally is that we've got the BEAD money that is coming, and if they don't get those projects done, then you're going to leave voids.
You're right.
And it won't be anything that you've done. It won't be anything that we've done. I mean, it's what it is.
You're right. They are tracking this. I do have a question for
And
Senator.
is it fair, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead and finish this.
Is it fair to say that these companies that are not coming through us, I would say, for the better choice of words, that are ISPs that are out there doing it on their own, are not totally required to meet the standards that we are, your gig up and gig down in the state?
That would be adequate.
And they might just be doing 100 up, 100 down. And so that may be giving people more inferior technology than what we're actually giving them, at the same
Those are
cost per
different
capita.
rules for different
Yes.
lots. And it's a concern, but there's nothing that we can do about it.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask Senator Singleton a question?
Certainly.
Senator Singleton, the question I have for you is because I know that you're interested in telemedicine. This is something that you've been pushing, and I think we have a line item in the budget for telemedicine.
We had one, yeah. Yeah, we did.
Okay. Well, the question that I have, because telemedicine depends.
I see the target, never mind.
And I'm just wondering, because you've got to be able to facilitate that. This is a facilitator of telemedicine. So, in the areas that we are putting it, are we seeing a difference, or has the infrastructure being put in these areas so that people can see a difference to do telemedicine?
Well, under the demonstration project, I was able to put 4 of them around in my district in the state, and we're basically trying to look at the data off them now. The biggest problem that we have now is the cost to run them. Have a nurse there or someone there on site to be able to help with the process. It's finding that funding. We're trying to work that through local government, but the chairman have assured me that we may be able to get some money to be able to, I'm putting him on the spot.
Chairman Reynolds, right?
One of y'all.
But we don't want to put him on the spot.
To be able to continue to, at least until the communities could to grasp funding to be able to run them.
Well, my concern is that it's really important in the fact, especially in rural counties, and I don't represent rural counties, but some of my areas are kind of rural. But I know with the areas that we're talking about, in particular Black Belt counties, where we've had hospitals to close, I think.
Yes.
Now we're up to maybe about 13, maybe it may be about 15 hospitals that have closed. And so telemedicine is really important to these people in being able to connect. But if we have not looked at what it takes to carry out the entire process, you know, we've spent all this money up front to do X, Y, Z. We've told people that there's an expectation that there's going to be able to do something. We're going to fill this void of being able to access medical care through this particular process. But at the end result, when you get down to use it, there's nobody there to monitor it. You call, there's nobody there on the other line. So if we're serious about trying to deliver health care to fill the gap where the hospitals are closed, you know, I asked the chairmen of the committee to look and find a way. And again, these are not areas that I represent, but we all represent the state of Alabama.
Thank you for the discussion. Mr. Boswell, I know that we have a long way to go to achieving this, but I think from the discussion, it appears like while there may be other technologies and there may be other methodologies and there may be other systems, whatever, one thing that we have done on this is that we have spurred the development of it. I don't think, going back 3 years from where we were, when we were dependent upon the ISPs, I guess, with the local companies using other funds to put things through, we were waiting continuously. Some would go in, but then they would not turn them on, or they would only go into certain areas. At least now, this has spurred the interest. It has spurred the development, not just in the fiber, but also in the technology with satellites. And all of this has made a progression, and I think this has been a part of it. I think we could be critical of a lot of things, but this has brought, I think, a lot of opportunity and good to the state. That's my thinking.
I think that, you know, Director Boswell in his office has done an awesome job at putting it together. We have one of the most complete maps of any state in the union of where all of our fiber is and how it's going to work. However, I also think that this total project to make sure that we hit every rooftop is going to take a mixture of wire and wireless in terms of how we utilize that, and maybe even some satellite, because of where we are in a lot of these rural areas. Because the business plan doesn't meet for some of these ISPs to go out in areas that are not clustered to where they have to go and run a transmission line 2 miles down the road and hit a house every now and then. And that's where it's costing a lot in terms of that, but where you might be able to get a wireless connectivity to be able to do that. So while we're building our wired infrastructure, we got to look at our wireless infrastructure on the back end of that also.
Let me add to that, Senator, if I may. It's not only a business plan that goes into this recipe, if you will. Topography, a lot of things go into this, and I've always said from the beginning that it will be a combination and a mixture of. Now, that'll be identified as we continue to move forward. And, you know, and I do agree with you. I mean, and Governor Ivey has done so much to move this state forward from the standpoint of broadband. I could remember when she asked me to take this job, how much do you know about broadband? I said, you can hold it in thimble. I said, but we can hire somebody to learn to teach us. And, you know, y'all have played a major role in that. The governor's office has played a very big role in it. And I, too, agree with the ARPA dollars and the investment that the internet service providers are providing. It will take us leap years. Our children and our children's children will be the beneficiaries of this.
Thank you, Mr. Boswell. Any other questions or comments? We'll have another one of these at some point, but I'm hesitant to name a date unless someone wants to. No? All right. We'll stand adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.